See, this is actually a really weird medium because I'm just here talking to a camera and you're watching a video. And the conveyance, right? The medium through which that we are communicating is actually through comments below the video. It's not natural at all. It doesn't really come naturally to me to talk to a camera. I don't feel like I convey who I am as a person or the thoughts that I'm having. I don't even talk about most of the things that are on my mind on this channel most of the time. A lot of the best videos I ever come up with are in the shower. And it's really hard for me on this platform to film those conversations for various reasons. Mostly, I want to keep the channel as family friendly as possible. Not a lot of vulgarity or controversial topics, but also because I could probably monetize that content a little better on a different platform, but not really. So, when I think of YouTube, part of me is frustrated. Part of me gets frustrated because first, there's not a lot of time for it. There's, I've got a job. I've got a bunch of kids. I'm doing what I can to complete all the little tasks around this house. I've never lived in houses before. I've always lived in apartments. And we're just renting here. Stuff breaks all the time. And it's little things that don't require a work order for the landlord to take care of. It's stuff that I've got to fix. Okay, I got to do these specific things around the house. And that's fine. I take that on as a responsible renter. It's not a problem. But they just pile up. Like the other day, my kid broke a light switch. I how do you even do that? He turned off the light, right? He turns it off, and the light switch itself snaps. I don't even know how he did it. He has Hulk strength, okay? And so now I've got to find a replacement light switch. It's not that hard. I drive down to Home Depot, I buy a light switch. Everyone wins, right? But I don't know next to anything about electricity. I mean, I know enough of how it works, but as far as electrician work, I mean, turn off the breaker, reattach the red and the black wire on the back of the new light switch, kind of similar to how the old one was. Don't shock yourself and die. I just for example, that's one thing I got to do. And during the day, I'm absorbed with those little things and getting the job done and dating my wife and taking care of the kids. And when do you film, right? That's before we even consider the fact that I'm trying to build stuff in my own time that I just enjoy doing. I like writing software. It's fun. I I'm not very good at it. I'm not the best at it, but it's fun, right? And so I have a choice now, middle of the night, film this video or refactor this database, right? I mean, hey, I'm probably going to do both. I'm going to sacrifice sleep and do both. And so the medium issue of YouTube, like we're not having a conversation, and I don't necessarily put down every idea that I think would be great for a video into video format because of the second issue, time to actually do it. It creates this weird stopping point when I'm getting ready to film. Uh, like, oh, I'll make some time to film, and then I don't want to because it's not going to be as good as I want it to be, and I'm not going to make time for it any other time. I'd rather just be working on the database or whatever it is, right? And it's so simple. You just got to do the thing, right? You got to sit in front of the camera and make a fool of yourself, talking to a camera, and eventually it gets better, right? And then I took a month off because the holidays were here, and that's all good and dandy. I needed the break to kind of collect myself, but you come back to it and you feel more silly talking to a camera. It's weird. I don't know. I wish I had a better vernacular, a better word, excuse me, to convey this emotion. I like doing this, and I don't know what direction to go in exactly. Is this channel what it was 3 years ago when I 5 years ago? I don't. When was the first YouTube video? Was that 2019, 2020? I don't remember. I don't remember. And when I started, I was thinking it would be kind of a hmm, kind of an uplifting thing. You know, um, spreading a positive message to people in whatever capacity that would be, whether it's helping people with different thinking patterns or health habits, or not fitness so much, but you got to take care of your health and your fitness if you want to be healthy, happy, wonderful person, whatever it is, to regulate your emotions and well-being. I honestly believe exercise is necessary, but this isn't an exercise channel. So I was thinking at first, like, I don't know, messages of positivity, right? What is that YouTube channel? Diving Deep. I can't. I wish I could think of the name right now. Sorry for the blank. It's gonna come to me, at 3 a.m. But there's this guy out there who's just amazingly positive, and his videos are always calming. And he was actually someone who got me into YouTube. I watched his videos at a time in my life when I was feeling kind of down, and um, it inspired me. Like, I wanted to come out here and do something similar, and over time that has changed. I love the channel title, right? Luke Has Ideas, because it's just so open. I can put anything out here. But as time has gone on, 3 years, 5 years, whatever it is, right? As time has gone on, my focuses have been whittled down. Like, the things that I'm interested in have been whittled down. And I don't know if you start another channel and like make it themed, right? Or if you just pile it all into this channel. Do you see what I mean? Like, do you want a rant channel? You want me to just rant about stuff? You want me to talk about current events? You want me to talk about health stuff? Do you want me to cover tinnitus more? That already right there, that could be 3, 4 different channels, right? And the last 3 years, I've been studying for a CFA I'm never going to get. I don't have the work experience for it. Um, CPA requires an accounting degree. I believe the CFA just requires a bachelor's, but I might be wrong. Please correct me down below. But there's a lot of work experience required to actually take the CFA exams, but that doesn't stop anyone from studying it. Okay, I just discovered that my particular brand of autism, don't read too much into that. I love that phrasing. People meme that all the time. I don't mean any offense by it. It just fits this situation, right? I love looking at financial statements. I don't know how else to describe it. I discovered this stuff and I developed a hyper fixation on it, using another one of those terms from that community. Um, it's just cool. It's just a hobby of mine. And so you learn more, you dive into it more, and it becomes a part of you, right? And so I want to get on here and I want to talk about not just personal finance and maybe combining that with the original idea of helpful material. Like, how could I help others in that realm? Sure, sure. Um, but talking about different earnings calls that go on, talking about different company strategies, talking about the market in general. And I mean, that could be its own channel by itself. And so I don't know the exact direction to go with Luke Has Ideas. If it should just be that amalgamation. Hey, it's Luke, and he's going to talk about whatever's going on with Luke, whatever's on his mind, whether that's positive, uplifting messages or finance news. I don't know, but I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. And I'll be making some more time for this because, like I said earlier, it's fun. And as I've gotten into, what are we now? 9 minutes in? Like, as I've gotten into it, I just feel more relaxed. I'm happier in front of the camera and it flows. So, all that to say, thank you. Thank you for sticking around. I I'll figure out channel directions and we'll move forward, but it feels at this point, 9:30 p.m. on a Thursday or whatever, it feels like very little effort has been put in. And the channel has grown organically to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you so much. Thank you. That's like I'm just that's really cool that y'all are sticking around and like checking this out. I really appreciate it. Thanks for coming along with me on this journey while I figure out what to do with this whole thing. But also following me through the years. When I started filming, what was if it was 2019, right? We were we were not sure how to pay rent. Like we had no idea what was going to happen next. And you fast forward to today, and that's no longer a problem. Now we're trying to figure out like, do we homeschool these kids? Who, not who's going to take out the trash. Like I always do that, but like, how are we going to make X Y Z happen all the time? The problems are much more mundane and just very different. And you've seen all of that through these years, and so thank you for sticking around. Um, I'd be curious to hear your feedback. What what are you looking for when you come here? When you watch something like this, what are you looking for in a video? Do you want commentary on stuff that's going on in the world? I don't necessarily want to go that direction because it's so easy to do. Eventually, you run out of ideas. Ha. Uh, eventually, you run out of ideas, and it's real easy to pick up a news piece or the latest thing that just happened and provide your take on it. Yeah, I, maybe if I reframed it, reframe it into self help somehow, and reframe it into how to use it to make yourself better, to get ahead, to improve yourself, to work through problems. Maybe. But I'm not really interested in it. I like living under a rock. I don't like when a news story is shared with me and someone is like, "Did you see the latest thing?" Sure, like, oh wow, no, either we're mad about this or there's some weird mystery that's probably not a mystery, it's just like currently unexplained. Everyone should pay a lot of attention to it. I'd rather refactor the database to be completely honest. But I'd love your feedback. Like, what brings you to this channel? What do you want to see? Do you want more tinnitus content? Because that is some of the most highly viewed content. I think there's a glut here on the internet for people to get together and talk about tinnitus. And I frankly have no idea what kind of videos to make on that beyond like my ears ring. I mean, really, it's like that. But it sucks. Here's some things I do to ignore it. Most of the time, at this point in my life, I've trained my brain to ignore it pretty much always. I just don't pay attention to it. Because when I do pay attention to it, it's loud and it's annoying. And just no, I'm too busy, man. I got stuff going on. I'm not going to think about it. And frankly, my kids are loud enough. That sounds really negative, but I guess the way I would say it in a different way is my kids are loud enough that I don't notice it. And that could be a good thing too. It's not loud like they're screaming and I'm pulling my hair out. As you can see, I got that haircut. Uh, no, I mean, even when they're quiet, they're loud. Even when they're quiet, I'm paying so much attention to them, I don't notice my ears ring. It's a beautiful thing. It's a wonderful thing. Uh, and not to take the spotlight off of them, but that kind of being in the moment, that kind of reverence for life, is what I walk around with. Now, I'm not even slightly an enlightened person. No, no, no. That's not what I mean. What I what I mean is I'm involved in the moment in which I exist. So if I'm talking with my wife, I'm paying attention to my wife. If I'm looking at my kids, I'm usually feeling gratitude or pride or just happiness. They make joy blossom in the center of me. I don't If you have a better way to explain that, please do it in the comments. But if I'm at work, I'm getting my work done as fast as I humanly possibly can because it's a lot of it is brain dead monkey push button get spreadsheet done kind of stuff, and that's it is what it is. Uh, but I'm focused on it while it's happening. When I'm exercising, I'm exercising, and it's like the stuff on the periphery falls away. So as far as tinnitus content is concerned, there's some mental techniques I can make videos about. There's those are like meditations, whatnot, breathing techniques we could talk about. We could talk about diet, things that I've tried, and really it just ends up becoming a content farm because am I gonna split that into like a 3 minute video? Uh, and eventually it just comes down to like, hey, I've eliminated these things or I've tried eating these things and it didn't fix anything. It's still there. Some days it rings less loudly. Great, what did I do? Not really sure. Did I not have as much caffeine? Did I get better sleep? Am I drinking more water? Am I fasting? I've tried all these different things and they've all had varying effects and the ringing's still there. So, I mean, there you go. There's every video I can make on what you can eat. I don't know. Uh, so, I would love to create a space where people could talk about this and feel less alone or feel less frustrated by the ringing in their ears. But I literally don't know what else to say. Is loud, it sucks. Hang in there. Sorry. um, when it comes to programming stuff, I'm not an expert. I'm I'm currently more in an IT adjacent role than I am in IT, where I um, I do a lot of accounts receivable stuff with student financials, and I mean, yeah, there's a lot of SQL work, but the time that I spent as a systems analyst and a systems administrator before I was this senior analyst position, eh, I'm not doing a lot of that. Does that make sense? I'm not working with networking at all. I'm not doing any kind of Active Directory stuff. I'm not in this job. I have yet to have any programming assignment beyond just SQL queries, really. Yeah, I mean, it's a lot of spreadsheet work. It's a lot of managing QA teams, actually, in certain parts of the year. Um, and I've expressed that frustration to friends. Management is whatever. It's fine. The job is fine. If anyone from work sees this, I'm very happy. Um, but it's because I moved up to that senior role. I'm now managing more stuff rather than like on the front lines. Does that make sense? And so, me talking about programming, I'm basically just going to show off what I'm doing. And I mean, that could be useful to some of you. You might like that, but it's not from like senior engineer three or something. This is like the hobbyist in his garage, building motorcycles. That's what I do with code. Does that make sense? You, it's probably filled with anti patterns. It probably takes design patterns and just stomps on them, but it works and it's fun. So I'll show you some of that later. And if you haven't yet, check out investmenthighlights.com. I'm currently revamping everything. So, funny story about that. When I was translating all the back end stuff that I'd done into front end displays, right? Like you have data and you need to make it so people can see it, right? Well, you got to do some front end work. And so as I'm putting everything out into tables and whatnot, you'll see it there under the individual stock highlights part. Um, what data is relevant? What do I want to see on the page? What is the most important? That's why they're stock highlights, right? Uh, and as I was building that out, I realized I didn't have any data on profit margins, just net income over revenue, right? Uh, like nothing. I hadn't saved anything. I had revenue, I had net income, I had no table, no columns, nothing for profit margin. Not a problem. Not a big problem, right? In this case, I'm using Django as the back end, right? So in models, you just make a property that does that for you. Net income over revenue, easy peasy. That's like a 7 line fix, okay? Um, that gets all updated and all good, but there's no average over time, no 5 year average, no lifetime average, nothing, right? So I end up having to put that logic into the views. So every time the page is rendering, it's calculating the average, which, I mean, it works, but that's a lot of extra load on the server, and load times are going to increase. It's a hacked fix. It's a hack. And essentially, I was racking up tech debt, if you will. So now I'm going back and fixing that. I am paying my tech debt off. Whee! Which is fine. It's fine. You go back and you add some lines of code so that later when you repopulate a table, it has all the up-to-date info you need. In your templates, you reference the stuff from the table instead of the property or the information calculated in the view. It's not an issue. But you learn a lot. I learned a lot going through the whole process, not just building the back end, but building the front end to see everything and realizing what pieces were useful, what wasn't useful. I've trimmed a bunch of stuff. That felt really good. Um, but it's like the whole process is iterative, right? Um, and you make it better each time you iterate. That was really eye opening because you when you're making just the back end, you're running through these different bugs left and right, and you eventually hack it together and make it work. And and you're like, yeah, I've mastered this thing. I have all the info I need. But when you have to actually make it presentable to people, you realize there's some stuff you still want. Um, so yeah, I'll definitely talk about tech more because I think it could help people who might want to get into this space. But take it all with a grain of salt, all of it, all of it, okay? Because I'm beginning to mid career. I'm in that area. IT stuff, system administration stuff, cloud stuff, awesome. I can help with that. Programming, you're gonna want to look elsewhere. Okay. Oh, it'll be fun to hang out with me, but we're gonna learn together. Is how I'll phrase that. Um, what else? What else? 2 months ago, roughly, I was talking about losing some weight because where I was at my wedding and where I am now is I'm just bigger. And maybe it's because I had kids, maybe it's because of office jobs, who knows. But yeah, bad habits, right? And so spent the last 2 months working on that, feeling good about it. I have some notes I want to share for sure. It's real easy to fall into bad habits, and it gets really hard to like break out of those. Honestly, you there's only so much time in a day. Does that make sense? So focusing on the exercise side of things can be almost impossible sometimes. Like you do what you can to get your exercise in. Some weeks are harder than others, and it all comes down to diet, right? Abs are made in the kitchen, and when you aren't sleeping enough, and the kids needed everything, and the house is falling apart, and you have to work every day, you it gets really hard to not eat. And that has been the most successful fat loss I've ever done is fasting. It just works good for me. Whether I'm doing like a 16-8 or I'm doing rolling 48s, it doesn't matter. It just works for me because like tracking my calories worked 2015 or so. It was like the last time I did that. And it's fine, but I'm not very good at moderation. I have problems overeating, I would say. I'd say that's pretty fair. Um, so watching my portions is always tough for me. And that's why fasting worked because it like crunched everything down into this one window, whether it was 2 days from now or in another 2 hours. It helps me quite a bit because my willpower sucks when it comes to that. And that's okay to admit, right? Like when you admit those things, you don't want to kick yourself in the teeth, but you need to be honest. And my willpower sucks. Like if there's chocolate in the house, I'm going to eat it. If there's another serving of the thing that I liked, I'm going to eat it. So I've had to find ways around those kinds of lacks of willpower, if you will. Um, yeah, I guess that's all I can really say on that. Uh, since the holidays, today was a 24-hour fast for me, and it was the longest day ever. It was so hard. I drank my salt water and I focused on work, and it feels like a 48-hour day, but it was successful. And here we are filming, and I'll go back to database stuff here right after this while this video uploads. But I'm surprised at how difficult it is to lose weight when you're not focusing on it. When you're not, when that's not one of the only goals you're working towards. It's surprisingly difficult. It's not an age thing. It's not a hormone. I mean, hormones are involved. But what I mean is the way that I grew up, people were like, well, you're in your 30s now. Yeah, metabolism slows way down. You know, you're just fat forever. I'm like, what nonsense is that? It's no, 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 no. It's because I live a more sedentary lifestyle and I have no willpower, like I was just saying, and my attention is elsewhere. So while I'm managing a family and doing kids stuff, which is the same thing, and managing work and whatnot, I'm just stuffing my face because you're like, I'm hungry. I've got brain fog up the wazoo, and I'm just gonna eat some food and go on with my day. And you eat some food, and you're a little more energized. You can focus again, and you're back on with it. But then you realize you've had like 6 to 8 meals. So, yeah, don't get lost in the sauce, my friends. Who says that? That's another thing that YouTube has taught me. I'll just randomly say things on camera that I don't say in real life ever. I don't say get lost in the sauce. I might never have said that, actually. Doesn't that mean get lost in a bottle? Doesn't that mean to get drunk? I don't. Or is it just a euphemism for like you're caught up in the moment? I don't know. I don't know, but yeah, there we go. First time using that. Uh, so anyway, my wife has been a very big motivator during these last 2 months because she is a third trimester now, almost. I don't know. How do you split 40 weeks into three? I understand that 40 divided by 3 is a math problem people can solve, but in my head, when people split 40 into 3 trimesters, I immediately go cross-eyed. I don't. I clearly am okay with numbers. I talk about doing networking and whatnot, and you got to do some basic arithmetic with stuff like that. But if you tell me like a woman is in her 28th week of pregnancy, I go, oh, that's cool. I know it's out of 40, right? And but if you were to ask me, gun to my head, is that second or third trimester? I go, it is a trimester. It's one of them. So I always find that just peculiar, like why that bugs me so much. I have no idea. Um, so she's been a very big motivator and coach and supporter during this whole thing because as she's maturing in her pregnancy, she feels bigger than she was in previous pregnancies. She feels a little insecure about that. And so she started going to the gym more and she's really watching what she eats. She's going down this rabbit hole of different healthy foods like organic this and no oxalates in the diet, stuff like that. It's great and I'm very supportive. But it's been very motivating for me because my wife is going to turn into a supermodel and I'll still be Mr. Muffin Top over here. So it's time to kick myself in the rear end. Let's put it that way. We talked about this 2 months ago, and I was making progress. The holidays happened, and I just need to work on it. Let's put it that way. Um, sorry too if my voice is a little scratchy. It's been an interesting 2 months. Let's put it that way. At one point, the kids got sick, and then we got sick, and then I think the kids got sick again. I don't even remember. It's just been a spiral back and forth. Are you coughing now? Oh, okay. We're all just coughing now. Does anyone else with kids ever experience that? It's like a handoff. It's like a relay race. You just hand it back and forth, and it might not even be the same sickness. It might just be because it's winter technically, air quotes, because this is Phoenix, Arizona, and it's just weird living in a place that doesn't have snow. It's not. I don't know. My brain doesn't like it. It does. I can kind of deal with the summers. I was raised in eastern Washington, so it's the dry heat doesn't bug me, and we would see 100 degrees there. Yeah, we would, but not 115. And you think it wouldn't be much different, right? 15 degrees isn't much, right? It's a lot. It's a lot. In fact, every 5 degrees roughly, it kind of punches you just a little bit differently. Long term, we'll probably leave, but we don't want to leave. We have a very good community here. We we have lots of friends. We are very, very blessed. Uh, it's gonna make it hard to leave here eventually, but something in me misses shoveling snow. I guess I don't know. I'm kind of rambling at this point, so I'm gonna call it. Don't want to get too rambly or like focused out there. So let's drop back in. First, thank you. Thank you for subscribing. Thank you for sticking around. I'm so happy to make it to 1,000 subscribers. Thank you. It's been a fun journey. Let's see where we can go from here. I'm going to figure out channel directions. What are we going to do? What are we going to talk about? Is it just Luke personality talking about whatever? Okay. Yeah, I'll make it work. And third, when do I film? When do I make videos? I need to figure that out. And I need to figure out, like, do I sit and film like 3 videos and then you just release them at different days of the week, on a schedule kind of thing? So it's very organized and pre-planned kind of. Do I need to put more work into it that way? Would that help the scheduling? I just mean for scheduling, not necessarily for content quality, if you will. There's because people put in a lot of effort into YouTube, and I'm very impressed. And there's some really cool stuff you can find on here, but that's not necessarily what this channel is going to be. This is going to be me talking. So it is what it is. But I need to figure that out. I need to figure out, like, is there a set time every day? Do I wake up at 5 a.m. and just hit record? Or do you do everything and Saturday afternoon I just block off 3 hours and just film and edit and all that? I don't know. I'll figure it out. I'll figure it out. So thank you for sticking around. I hope you have the most wonderful day, night, existence. I hope everything's going great. Take care of yourself. And talk to you later. See, like that. See, like what? That's another thing. People always have like little intros and outros on these things. I, I'm not built that way. I don't know. At the end of the video, if I could be like, "You stay classy, San Diego," it doesn't. Okay. I'll figure it out. Maybe it is later than I thought. Take care of yourself. Bye.